No, you know what Justice Thomas did wrong? He's been one of the greatest Supreme Court justices ever to serve on the court. He has been a principled constitutionalist, and the left despises him. Democrats hate Justice Thomas, and they save a special degree of hate for him because he's a black man.
It's a bold claim in the wake of weeks of ever-evolving and increasingly distressing news about the enthusiastic corruption that Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas has engaged in. I kind of feel like if people are criticizing him after the Harlan Crow stuff and the house being bought by the right-wing billionaire and the trips and the gifts and the fact that he lied about the guy having business before the court when it turns out that he did, I feel like if they're criticizing him now, it might have something to do with that and not just the race stuff. I can't vouch for any attacks against him a month ago, but I feel like now it's probably that. To be fair though, it's a senator. We should show the senator some respect. Here is him making the case.
And their view is an African American is not allowed to be a conservative, is not allowed to disagree with left-wing orthodoxy. You know, Justice Antonin Scalia, whom I knew well, was every bit as conservative as Justice Thomas. The left didn't heap that kind of contempt on Justice Scalia. Justice Thomas, they view as a traitor because he is African American and he's an extraordinary justice.
Okay, you'll notice that he is not citing specifics as to why Clarence Thomas is this amazing originalist or whatever. By the way, he's an active participant in destroying well-established, decades-old precedent. Get out of here with the nonsense about his supposed judicial philosophy. Clarence Thomas could have been a Republican congressman. Instead, he's a Supreme Court justice. He's a political hack either way. That's all it is. If law scholars want to make a case for why he stands out and is impressive in terms of being a justice, then I leave that challenge to them. But I would also say that if that's why we're attacking him, then why are we attacking Kavanaugh for all of his weird political stuff? The debt that was suddenly evaporated as soon as he got into office. Gorsuch, for instance, the land deal that he did. Those guys seem pretty white to me, and I feel like we're criticizing their corruption. What do you think, Francesca?
I just think it's sad, that the woke mind virus has infected Senator Ted Cruz, who has spoken out about, in fact, has an entire book called Unwoke, and yet even he is susceptible to seeing color, which is the first step in Marxism, as we all know. So that's very sad. It's just amazing, right? Like when the right wants to use race to make a point, they do. And when it doesn't work in their favor, because of the way structural racism and white supremacy generally tend to work, they say it doesn't exist.
Yep.
But if they have to hold up someone like Clarence Thomas, who is insanely backwards and reactionary and an extremist, and his wife, of course they're gonna, oh, you don't like him because he's black. No, absolutely, that's not why. So yeah, and just like, yeah, it's incredibly rich that he's utilizing that, and it's so gross because it's like he's basically saying like, no, Clarence Thomas is our pet. You know what I mean? He's our model minority, right? He's ours. We have him and Tim Scott and Candace Owens, and that's it.
Look, if he wants to try to make the case that people show insufficient respect to respected judges who are black, I would remind him, and I will remind all of you, of his interaction with soon to be at that point Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson in this video.
Thank you.
Do you agree with this book that is being taught with kids that babies are racist?
Senator, I do not believe that any child should be made to feel as though they are racist or though they are not valued or though they are less than, that they are victims, that they are oppressors. I don't believe in any of that.
So to be clear, if you point out that a Supreme Court justice receiving literally millions of dollars of financial benefits over the course of decades from a guy whose stated goal is to remake the American judiciary, you a racist. If instead you bring up this dumb book that she's never seen to say, oh yeah, you think even babies are racist because someone else wrote a book that you've never seen, is that right? Then that's not racist. That's just totally cool. What do you think?
I love this. This is a great moment in, I think, congressional history, Senate history, is just him showing like a different poses of himself, like racist baby, me, racist baby on my head, racist baby over here. Like, yeah, exactly. It's the grilling of Ketanji Brown Jackson was the most racist display we have ever seen. But again, it doesn't matter. Clarence Thomas is a tool, and look, he was bought by a billionaire to be a tool, and that's just what we know of. And of course, this week we know even more, which I know we'll get into.
Exactly, yeah, no, he's not unique in that. Plenty of, like, the reason we're worried about Kavanaugh and this financial transactions is because we worry about the corrosive impact of money on what the Supreme Court does. But he is one of those people. We're not gonna pretend that he's not, just because Ted Cruz thinks he's come up with a clever trick. That's not actually how that works.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.